Hey guys, MoiDawg here, and today we're finally getting a chance to look at the next big update for Squad, V2. This update brings in a bunch of new weapons, vehicles, and gameplay changes, including some great new quality of life options as well. But before we dive into the patch notes, I do want to remind everyone that I stream a lot of Squad on Twitch at twitch.tv/MoiDawg. I squad lead, run vehicles, and as a Squad official partner, I'm able to show off some cool behind-the-scenes stuff that you can't get anywhere else. The live streams are a lot of fun, so I hope to see you there. On December 1st, Squad posted an announcement that stated V2 was officially in open playtesting. Although this isn't on the live servers just yet, the update is in a good enough state to get it out to the community in order to try and test it for ourselves. And I'll tell you right now, V2 feels like such an upgrade that it almost feels a bit like a new game. To start off, the devs have implemented a new layer system, which may not seem like the coolest thing to have in a patch, but the depth of what this means for Squad is why I'm so excited about it. Currently, maps in Squad have layers, such as Al Basra Invasion V1 and Al Basra Invasion V2. Both of these maps are Invasion and on Al Basra, but the capture points and vehicles are always unique to that layer. Invasion V1 will never let you have a tank, and Invasion V2 will always make you attack the airport first. With the map layer overhaul, this is changing. Layers will now only control the points of interest, meaning that when you play Al Basra Invasion V1, your first point will always be ruins, and Invasion V2, your first point will always be airfield. But the players themselves will get to choose who is defending and who is attacking. Teams will first be able to vote on which Red 4 and Blue 4 faction they want to play as, and then you will vote on the division makeup under that faction as well. For example, on Al Basra, we could choose to be the US as the attackers, and then select things like an aircraft division, giving us multiple helicopters and light transport vehicles, whereas the defenders could select an armored division, giving them T-62s and BMP-1s. This is huge to the replayability of Squad, and although we don't have the specifics yet on what divisions will be created or how many divisions are allowed on a team, the devs have also confirmed that this could go as far as limiting certain emplacements and command assets, meaning you might have to choose between heavy vehicles or tow emplacements, but not both. I absolutely cannot wait to mix and match these divisions, and I really feel like the game will start to develop in a way where players will try and experiment a bit more. This is great since right now the RAS, AS, and Invasion meta is really stale, since you get the same vehicles and same type of gameplay game in and game out. Having a division show up with no vehicles compared to one that has all the heavy vehicles will be really interesting to try and figure out how to succeed. For gameplay itself, V2 will also bring a couple changes to FOBs and HABs. The first is the new Refund System, which will allow players to swap their kit or build down unfinished emplacements for 80% of the cost. Instead of wasting ammo every time you swap kits, you will now refund 80% of the ammo you would have needed, meaning swapping from a full Grenadier to a LAT kit will cost just about 20 or 30 ammo instead of the over 100 ammo it normally does. Additionally, any emplacements that you haven't fully built can be dug down and refunded for 80% of the cost. Place a bad HAB or have a brand new player accidentally right click instead of left click and delete that HAB you were just about to build? Well, you'll now have a 400 build refund returned to you so you can fix the mistake. This is a great step in the right direction for FOB management, and I really hope it helps FOBs be more useful and sustainable in the live games. The second change is a new HAB activation delay. When a HAB becomes active, you will now see an activation timer countdown for 10 seconds before players can spawn in, and it works for both newly built HABs and the ones that have recently been overrun. This is intended to prevent mass wave spawning, and I'm sure we've all been in the situation where you tell your squad to wait until a HAB is built up or the enemy have left the proxy area before you all immediately spawn in, rush the point, and take it over. This should help prevent cheesing spawns, so I'm all for a delay. But with the gameplay stuff out of the way, now for the fun stuff. We have a bunch of new weapons and vehicles included in V2 as well. Starting off with the British, infantry will now have the choice between iron sights, SUSAT, or LDS optics when selecting kits. This is a very nice optic, and I think it's going to be the new side of choice when playing the UK. Currently, Squad Leader 3, Medic 2, Rifleman 3, Grenadier, and LAT 2 classes all have this instead of the previous ACOG, with the old SUSAT and irons filling in the rest of the kits. The British have also received 3 new vehicles, the Foxhound, Scimitar, and Puma, but they've also received a huge upgrade to the Warrior. The The Warrior is now fitted with a stabilized 30mm autocannon that fires AP and HESH rounds instead of the slow 5-round loaded firing mechanism it had previously. I don't know what to say other than this thing is amazing, and I cannot wait to take it out in a real game. In the range, we still have the old Warrior variant without the autocannon and also without the up-armored armor package. So it looks like the new up-armored Warrior will most likely be balanced to become something like the BMP2 for the Brits. The older Warrior seems to be balanced against now the BTRs. This would make sense because the BTRs and BMPs have also had huge buffs to their ammo, with the devs stating that the BMP and BTR have had their ammo upgraded from the 3 UBR6 rounds to the 3 UBR8 rounds, meaning they will now be able to pin thick frontal armor like you've seen in Bradleys and Warriors. It seems good in theory, so I look forward to seeing how the new vehicle balance plays out. The British have also received a smaller armored vehicle called the Scimitar, which is essentially a baby Warrior. This thing is comically tiny, but with the Warrior firing system and it being one of the fastest vehicles in the game, it should be a lot of fun to use. For wheeled vehicles, the UK finally have their own armored car, the LPPV. It comes in both Crows and open-top MG variants, and should fill the role the Mat V and Tiger does for the other conventional factions. The open-top is pretty cool looking, and it should be a lot of fun flying through the streets with both guns firing from the top, since each side offers a 180-degree coverage, giving the two gunners a full 360 degrees around the vehicle. Finally, the British now have the Puma, the newest helicopter included in the game. This thing is huge and is balanced more like the Hip, with 1500 build or ammo being able to be carried. I'm not much of a pilot, but I will say that it flies like a Hip as well and feels very heavy. But this also could be because of the new helicopter changes that have been included in V2. OWI have adjusted things like improved energy retention through high-speed turns, translational lift and angle of attack tweaks to help J-turns and steep flares, acceleration changes to help with momentum and movement of the vehicle, and even things like reducing thrust when the engine is disabled, allowing for more survivable crashes. Once again, I am not a big helicopter pilot, but I will say these helicopters now feel very heavy and a little bit more floaty than they have in the past. If you are a helicopter pilot, I think you're really going to have to mess around with your new sensitivity settings to make sure you can actually fly these things, since I've seen very experienced pilots careen into the ground because they are simply unfamiliar with the new flight model. Finally, a surprise addition to the faction is the new InLaw hat weapon. The InLaw is a huge fire and forget missile launcher that allows you to track a target, lock into the velocity, and fire, with the weapon calculating the trajectory of the target and adjusting mid-flight to hit where it would go. This is not player guided and this is not heat seeking, but it is simply a missile flying at a predicted location of where the vehicle would be at whatever distance you set it at. It seems a little confusing, but honestly, this is just amazing. And if a vehicle is moving in a straight line on a flat surface at a constant speed, it should make it relatively easy to hit. I haven't had a chance to try this in a real game yet, but if you do want to try it yourself, all you have to do is move the sight left or right at a steady pace until you hear the locking beep. Once you hear this beep, fire and the missile will adjust to where the target would end up. It doesn't work if you were to move it up or down, and there will be an option to turn this mode off if you just want to dumbfire it like you would with any other weapon. Speaking of hat weapons, before we get to the insurgents, the Russians have also received a brand new hat as well, the RPG-28. This replaces one of the RPG-7v2 tandem and heat kits, giving the kit the RPG-28 and RPG-26 in its place. This is a huge buff to Russian AT, as the effective range of the 28 is 500 meters. It's a heavy, slow-moving rocket, but it is much better than the RPG-7 tandem round, which is incredibly hard to use even for experienced players. Both the RPG-28 and InLaw are also strong enough to pin any armor in the game, meaning that the strong frontal MBT armor, which has a tendency to deflect or absorb shots, will no longer protect your tank crew. As an AT player, I am super excited, but as a vehicle player, I'll definitely have to find new ways to fight against these infantry weapons. Moving on to the insurgents, they've had a complete overhaul as well, and the faction receives only the second ever bolt action in the game, the Mosin Nagant. The Mosin comes in both the carbine and full-length variants, with the sniper also having the PU-1 scope. This rifle looks and sounds great, and will be able to one-shot kill if you hit a player in the torso. It's also the first weapon to have unique reload animations, and you'll see your character actually reload whatever ammo is missing to top it off. Fire 2 rounds, load 2 rounds. Fire all 5, load a brand new stripper clip into the rifle. It's a really nice feature that makes it feel like a real rifle and not just some asset. I'm happy OWI took the time to make it look so polished because I think players will really appreciate it. Insurgents will also receive the RPD as the new fire support auto rifle weapon. It looks and feels the part, and when it's bipoded, it absolutely shreds. The kit can be a bit overwhelming when you're standing straight up, as expected, but even crouched, if you did need to squeeze off a few rounds, you should be able to handle the recoil. For vehicles, the Insurgents have a whole new fleet of techies. These new pickup trucks have some of the usual weapons we're used to, like the Dishka machine guns, rocket pods, and SPGs, but also completely brand new systems like the Browning 50 cal, a ZU-23 AA gun, a mortar tube, and even a BMP-1 turret. These things are absolutely amazing and make you really feel like you're playing as an unconventional faction trying to be incredibly mobile and use hit and run tactics. The BMP-1 techie will obviously be a fan favorite, but all of these are just so cool to the overall feel of the faction itself. To wrap it up, there's also some new changes to how you can actually tweak your graphics settings, giving a lot more customization available to the player, as well as also including new streaming options. These options will obviously help streamers since you can now hide squad names, player names, and server information, but I also think players who do want to get more cinematic shots will also appreciate these options. You can now hide server broadcast announcements, which will make it really easy for players to get the footage they want to without having that yellow or red text flash on the screen. I strongly recommend to not have this on all the time, since I know on our own server we like to broadcast messages and warnings, but it is a really cool option to allow for more recording and better content creation. And lastly, if you have been paying attention, there's actually a brand new map in V2 as well. Some of the footage you might have seen me running around with the Russian hat kit in a snowy map, and that is Goose Bay, a brand new CAF map with invasion and RAS layers. This is a complete rework of the old Mana Civic map. I'm going to be doing a complete separate video on this map once I get a few games in so I can have a real feel for it, but I would highly encourage you guys to check it out. It feels a little bit like if Behringer was enlarged and had a lot more with it, so I think you guys are really going to enjoy it. But that just about wraps up everything in the V2 playtest. Nothing is final and we may see some balance tweaks here and there, but I'm really excited about everything I've seen so far. But what are you guys most excited for? Is it a new vehicle or weapon, or perhaps you're hyped about the new possibilities the layer system can bring to the game? Let me know in the comments below, give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and subscribe for more squad content. But that's it for me. Until next time, peace.